Today I'm going to be talking about 5 ways that you can deepen your chameleon journey. This is the 4th video in a series of 4 talking about your chameleon journey. I'm talking about the 3 stages that match the Chameleon Academy motto, learn, understand, pass it on. And today we're to stage 3, pass it on. This is the stage where you're doing something substantial to specialize yourself and to give back to the community. As an arbitrary number, I'm going to say this happens around year 5 of your chameleon journey. But however long or short it takes you to get here, these are my 5 picks for deepening your chameleon journey.
First one is that you can go to Madagascar. You can see chameleons in the wild. It's an amazing experience to go to where they live and just see them sitting on the trees. Nothing changes your perspective like seeing the chameleons in the wild. And all of these numbers that we talk about, all these husbandry parameters, they're not just those numbers anymore. Now you feel it. Yes, you can go outside and you can feel these natural conditions anywhere. But there, where you're sitting there looking at a chameleon on a tree, it makes it so much more real, knowing that you're experiencing the conditions that are the exact conditions that that chameleon is feeling. I take an annual trip for the Chameleon Academy to Madagascar. And during those trips, I stand with people in the Runamafana rainforest while we're looking at shamrock chameleons, and we're just feeling what it feels like to have that humidity. It's not oppressive like humidity in a cage that is trapped. And when you feel the fog come in, that fog that's so thick that you can't even see down the road. And good luck taking a picture with a flash because it just flashes off the fog. And when you're in that situation, you realize what fresh, ventilated fog feels like. And that's what we're trying to accomplish in captivity. You can feel how hot it is when you're standing out in the sun, but when you go into the forest, how cool it becomes. That's when you realize firsthand why it's dangerous to just take the numbers off of the weather apps and apply those inside of our cages. Those numbers don't match what the chameleons are experiencing. A trip to where chameleons live wild is an unmatched experience. Anybody who has gone to Madagascar will tell you that. And it's very hard to describe. It's something you just gotta feel. Of course, you can go to Madagascar at any time during your chameleon journey. You don't have to wait to the 5-year mark. But it's not something necessary to keep your chameleon alive and healthy. What it does is it gives you a deep understanding of what we're trying to do. You can be part of the conversation at this higher level of how do we recreate the natural conditions? What of those natural conditions are important to recreate, and what of those conditions are just things chameleons tolerate and we don't want to recreate? If you want to understand the full picture of what we're trying to care for and what we're trying to do, Madagascar is at the heart of it. And honestly, it's not that hard. It is expensive, but Madagascar is a relatively safe place to go. You're still climbing in mountains, so you've still got to be careful. You've got to be careful what you eat, but you don't have to worry about large land mammals, and you don't have to worry about venomous reptiles. And so, as far as going to see chameleons in the wild, it's at the top of my list. Next is to consider sharing through an outreach. One of the most powerful ways to deepen your knowledge is to share it. You can do this by starting a YouTube channel, creating an account on one of the mini social media apps, starting a blog. Yes, there's still blogs. But if you're going to do this, you need to be clear as to what your goals are. It is very different to say, I'm going to start this social media outreach for my personal enrichment and my growth, and to say, I'm going to start this social media outreach and I'm going to be successful. I'm going to gather all of these followers. Those things have an overlap, but whichever one is important will dictate what kind of decisions you make. And in this particular case, as to what can deepen your experience in the chameleon community and you as a person, I am suggesting that you can start one of these outreaches for the purpose of education and deepening your knowledge, not for jumping into the rat race of likes and subscribes and all of that. Believe me, I'm in the middle of that. I know. And it's incredibly intimidating to say, okay, I'm going to do video if you're not naturally inclined to video. If you enjoy video, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, these are great places for you. If you enjoy audio and you don't want your face seen, podcasts. Maybe you're a writer. Well, in that case, you can start a blog on your own website or go to chameleonforums.com and start a blog there. The important part is that you have a purpose for starting this outreach and that you're clear as to what that purpose is. It can be that you want to gather followers and have a big discussion. It can be that you're exploring things that you're going through and things that you're trying. Once again, the important thing is that you recognize what your goal is and that you stick with it. All of these platforms are going to want to draw you into that rat race of fighting for subscribers, fighting for likes. And I will tell you that is a trap. It will keep you from getting the value you want out of an outreach. Because when you start catering to the masses to get more likes and more subscribes, you're going away from the deep dive into what's really important in chameleon husbandry. You slide into entertainment. In fact, I will tell you going viral is the worst thing possible if you want a channel that's going to enrich you and deepen your understanding. And if you're interested in any more details of any of this kind of stuff that I'm talking about, either how to start a channel or what to watch out for so you don't fall into the trap of it becoming more stress than it is a benefit, I come to one of my live sessions. I do live sessions Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific, Saturday at 12 noon Pacific. This is on my Chameleon Academy live channel. I have 2 Chameleon Academy channels, and you can ask questions there. And I know it's all about chameleons, but it's also about the chameleon community, and this is a consideration. Talk to me there about how to make a useful outreach so you're not in the rat race. And the thing that I'll say as well is don't think that you have to teach. Don't copy me. Over the decades I've been teaching and educating, you don't have to do what I'm doing. You bring your unique perspective and the things that you are exploring to the channel. The wonderful thing about having a social media outreach is you don't have to make it a tutorial. It can be a type of a blog. It can be a daily journal. It can be a weekly, monthly journal. We already have information sources out there that say this is how to take care of a chameleon. Bring your personal interpretation. Bring your personal experiences. Bring the experiences of when it didn't work and how you got out of that. Those are the very important things that only you can bring. So don't take on the burden of having to be an expert. Just be yourself wherever you are. And the people will come because they enjoy watching someone just be honest as to where they are in the chameleon journey. Sharing honestly, truthfully, responsibly lifts the entire hobby. And you'll be surprised at how much you grow while you're doing it. Hey, the sun's come up. Yay, I'm not going to be soaked this afternoon. The next thing I want to bring to you is breeding your chameleon. Now, I want to be careful because in the past, that has been the shining light. People say, once I breed a chameleon, that means I've made it. I'm the expert once I breed chameleons. And I want to take that off the plate. You don't have to breed chameleons to progress in your chameleon journey. We have plenty of space to figure out how to provide an enriching environment for chameleons. That's more important. We have figured out how to breed chameleons. We don't need more people doing it. Now, I still have breeding as something you can do to further your chameleon experience because it's incredibly educational. And it is the way to truly understand your chameleon when you can go through an entire life cycle. In fact, I would love it if people, before they started educating about chameleons, would breed their chameleon, raise that chameleon up, breed some of the offspring, not to each other, and start a new generation. That is a complete life cycle, and that rounds out your experience and your perspective into this species of chameleon. And so there's tremendous value in doing that. Now, the problem with breeding is it's a tremendous stress. Taking care of 20 to 30 babies is a huge project. And then selling 20 to 30 babies, finding new homes, is a huge effort. And honestly, that stress of doing that sometimes takes people out of the chameleon hobby altogether. They have a bad experience, something goes wrong, and the community loses a very experienced person. Burnout is a real thing when you breed chameleons. It's very exciting to have all those babies hatch, but once they hatch and once you get into the grind of taking care of them, you are in serious danger of burnout. So Do not take on a breeding project without really preparing for it. If you are at the 5-year mark, then you probably know people who breed chameleons. Talk to them. Ask them, how do I do this successfully without burning out? Or just come to my live session and ask me and I'll tell you. Somewhere along the way, I'm going to make a video of it. But as much as I want you to be really, really ready before you breed, I will say that it is an amazing experience that will deepen your understanding of chameleons. I love breeding chameleons. I love raising up baby chameleons. It is one of my favorite things about keeping chameleons. In fact, I'd love it if I could raise other people's chameleons and send them away when they grow up. But I know what kind of expense and time goes into raising baby chameleons, and so I'm prepared. Just make sure if you want to breed chameleons that you're prepared. Talk to people who have done it and make sure you're set. Next, at the 5-year mark, I want you to consider specializing your expertise. And by that I mean, focus on a certain species and get really good at that species. If you're breeding, breed it multi-generationally. Maybe you're working on specializing in bioactive environments. Maybe you have a heart for senior chameleon care or rehabilitation of MBD veiled chameleons. Your specialization can be at any focus level. Maybe you're learning about acclimating wild-caught chameleons or parasites. There are so many different little niches that you can focus on and become an expert in. Maybe it's a certain locale of panther chameleon. Maybe you love Parsons chameleons. I love shamrock chameleons. And so I'm focusing in on that one. It could be hydration systems. It could be feeders. It could be nutrition. What about your chameleon journey excites you? Consider focusing in on that, becoming an expert in that, and bringing out the important points so you can share with other people so they can get good at that. Where in our community are there holes that you could help fill? Case in point, I wrote the book Tiny Dragons. It's all about taking care of baby chameleons. Now that's a very small niche, and if anybody came to me and said, what's the best book that I can write for to be a famous author, I would not say taking care of baby chameleons. There's so few people that actually do that your market is kind of small. But my purpose here is to be an educator, and that is the one gap in the chameleon life cycle that hasn't really been covered. And so I covered it. A lot of research, a lot of effort, a lot of experience went into creating that book. And now you can find that book on Amazon, 192 pages of full color photographs and a rich source of information for people who want to take care of a baby chameleon. That's just one example of what you can do. And at this point in your chameleon journey, you have enough experience under your belt that you can start thinking about specializing. And the final thing I want to go over is to develop a keeper philosophy. And what that means is, what do you stand for? What is it that you represent to the community? What are you bringing to the community? What are you modeling for the community? And when people deliberately choose to stand for something, they make a difference. Case in point, I've been talking about individual raising of baby chameleons for decades. In 2013, I actually started a chameleon caging company that made the first nursery cages. Yeah, now small cages are all over the place, but Dragon Strand was the first time that there were cages specifically designed for raising baby chameleons individually. And then I started this podcast and was talking about how they should be raised individually. But that didn't take off in action in the community until a man named Jonathan Hill decided he's going to start I. Pardalis, a breeding company. And the whole point of that breeding company was that he was going to raise panther chameleons individually. Every single chameleon that he produces is raised individually. He took a stand. He said, this is my personal philosophy, this is what I stand for, and I'm going to live this. I talked about it for so long, and obviously I did it myself, but who cares what this podcast guy is saying? It wasn't until somebody who's actually going to be a commercial breeder showed that breeders could do it. And it was a sacrifice of time, money. He could have earned a whole lot more by group raising babies, as is and still is common. But he took a stand. And since then, new breeders coming into the market are saying, yeah, it can be done, and that is best husbandry, and now I'm going to do it that way.
I want it that way.
It's becoming more and more common that breeders are giving that level of husbandry to the babies that they are raising. One person taking a stand makes a difference. In 2013, I started the Dragon Strand Chameleon Caging Company, and I offered hybrid cages. This is the first time that a commercial company offered chameleon cages to be hybrid instead of just screen. If you've come to the chameleon community in the last 10 years, that may not sound like anything spectacular, because every company that offers chameleon cages since then has offered hybrid cages, and now they're easy to find. But back then, it was a huge thing to take a stand and put a company behind it. I had to fight to explain why these were superior. So, do you have to take a stand and do something that's going to change the entire direction of the chameleon community? No, not at all. You can do an enormous good for the community just by saying, these are the husbandry standards that I want to represent myself with and be an example. Post your densely planted enclosure online just so people see what it looks like. Share how you mist and fog. Show those incredible bioactive floors. All of these things, you don't have to push it on other people. You just have to share it and model it and be it and live it and be an example. And at the 5-year mark, you're getting to that point where you have been around long enough that, yeah, your personal philosophy starts to matter. And so, be a force of good for the community. Now, all these milestones aren't requirements. They're just possible paths that you can take. Which one you choose depends on your personality. What do you want to do? How involved do you want to get? But consider now how you can grow as a person and how you can give back to the community. Now, you may be asking, well, Bill, what happens at 10 years? 15 years, 20 years? Well, it's just a deepening of your personal philosophy and finding ways of giving back. The important thing is that no matter where you are on this journey, that you realize you're where you're supposed to be. Don't hurry to the next stage, just enjoy the journey. There is satisfaction and fulfillment to be found at each one of these stages. And me? I don't know, what happens when you hit the 50-year stage? I don't know. Anyway, I'll be sharing that journey with you. That's part of what I do. I invite you to come along with me, and in a number of years, yeah, we'll be having the 50-year mark. So I want to thank you for coming along with me on these 3 stages of your chameleon journey. The main message I can give to you is enjoy where you are. It's where you're supposed to be. My name is Bill Strand. This is the Chameleon Academy. Take care of yourself. Be excellent to each other, and I'll see you next time.